we are working in direct partnership with the Commission, and particularly through the work of Lee Fung, from whom you'll hear in a minute. You're in terrific hands with Lee and her team. We are working with many of you in the room, and we want to be in as continuous a conversation as we can be over the next year with all of you. There will be support within the scope of what we call our Deepening Democracy program, and in particular working with the Commission through that program. But there will also, I hope, be some additional support that we'll be able to mobilise from different corners, including particularly from the Office of the High Commissioner in Geneva. And then there's my role and that of my sister, the Director General of the United Nations Office here in Nairobi, DG Zainab Bangura. Both of us are here at the leadership level to intervene when and if that is necessary.
As you've heard, monitoring is really the key part of this. It underpins the whole of the strategy, because it's through monitoring that we know what the human rights situation is in the country, where the gaps are, where some of the opportunities are, and how well the different actors are performing. And this informs early warning and prevention, but it also is important in terms of monitoring and analysis to see how we are actually being able to incorporate the recommendations from the past. And many have referred to the series of recommendations that have been issued before, and how do we build upon the lessons of the past. And I think this is really a critical question for us to reflect upon. I know that outside there were also copies of the matrix of recommendations issued after the 2017 elections by Kenya National. There's also been a series of recommendations issued by human rights mechanisms, including through the Universal Periodic Review. And just yesterday, there was a civil society stakeholders forum that issued its own assessment of performance throughout the Universal Periodic Review process and the various cycles.
We shall be looking at the campaigns process, the poll itself, as well as the post-elections happening. All this is aimed at ensuring that there is compliance to human rights standards as well as principles, to ensure that we as a country are able to enjoy the civic right of voting, right to vote, but also the right to be voted in. In our case, we continue to observe and ensure that elections in Kenya will remain a catalyst of good governance, development, as well as enjoyment of human rights for all. And this can only be so if the elections are well managed and if all the stakeholders play their role respectively and ensure that everyone enjoys their rights, but above all ensure that there is accountability for any violations that occurs. To this end, the Commission will today launch what we call KNCHR election strategy, and in this strategy you will look at it and you will find that we have been able to identify the key milestones that we intend to make, or we intend to look at, the key interventions, but above all we've been able to identify the roles of the different actors in this process.
I think that the IBC has been one of the biggest letdowns in terms of continually educating Kenyans, and especially first-time voters who may not know why they should register and even turn up to vote and vote for the right people. And so I was a bit disappointed when one of the long-time serving commissioners, shamelessly told a committee of the Senate what the young people told them. And I said, is that not the height of the responsibility for IBC to think that its role is only to lay tables for some clerks and expect young people to turn out without the empowerment, the civic empowerment and political conscientization that they need to know and appreciate why it is their civic duty to turn up and vote.
We as NMS, we are on the ground in terms of matters of response. Do we really want to keep on responding? Because we have already started mapping out to look at which are our hotspots, going by the repeat elections that we had. And we had quite new hotspots that came up. We can already see coming from the medical terms, we can already see signs and symptoms of what is already brewing. Are we prepared? Did we learn? I've just had SUBA talk about recommendations and recommendations. Do we have outcomes? And in these outcomes, have we been able to follow them up? So I don't want to go into a lot. All I just want to say that as NMS Health, we are going to do our best in terms of recognizing, linking up, working with the local CBOs within the community to be able to create awareness in terms of electoral violence, and just be able to localize what they do as a community, even as they work as CBOs with our paralegals on the ground.